This is the Vision chassis, the Vision Pro chassis. We're gonna do a little bit of an unboxing and really check out the entire thing on this chassis. So to start off with, let's go ahead and open up the box. It's a brand new chassis, and really excited to open this up and show you guys exactly what comes in the box. So, Vision chassis. This happens to be in the carbon gray color. Carbon gray. Man, what a beautiful piece. This is how it comes to you. So some chassis makers, you're gonna have kind of parts and pieces to put together, but this is the full meal deal. This is all one piece, you guys, so it makes it a really strong kind of upper fore-end unit, action unit. Everything around here is really, really stout and stiff. Some of the things I kind of notice on the Vision chassis is this is made out of a little bit higher quality aluminum than a lot of things that we see here in the States. This is at a 7075. So very high-end piece of equipment. Obviously, we're also gonna have, they do include a little tool in here. Include a little tool, and then all your other pieces. We're in the bag, we're gonna have stuff like just our action screws. We're gonna have our 2 different thumb rests. Technically, you can just put one on each side is kind of what I would probably do. Put one on each side, the bolts are included in there. And then we have, because this is an ambidextrous chassis, you have a little piece that goes on the off side of your bolt. So whatever side your bolt goes on, for me, I'm a lefty, so I'll put it on the right side to close off the right side. Let's start building. This is exactly how I would build my rifle and my chassis. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna find out a little bit about this particular chassis. We're just gonna start off with the weight. So this is a bare chassis just as it comes, but like most chassis, they're really modular, and there's a lot that you can add to them to tailor it for whatever you would like to do. I got a bunch of side weights here and our internal weights right here, which go in there. Now these are kind of cool. They say front, so it makes it pretty easy for you to slide them in the slots. And I'll show you how to do that, but just a weight. Let's go ahead and get it weighed. We're at 5 pounds, 11 ounces. 5 pounds, 11 ounces for a naked chassis. That's a great weight. We will weigh it after we put a couple of things on it just to give you an idea of what it is. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you, there's 5 internal barrel channel weights. They go on the inside of this barrel channel. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna weigh one of these. They're a little over 6 ounces, 6.1 ounce. So you know that we got 5, we can add about 30 or 31 ounces with our 5 weights. And we're gonna also weigh a side weight. Now, these come in packages of 2, and these M-lock on the side of the chassis, like very standard. There's actually 2 different heights you can put this in. Kind of tailor it for you. I put it on the standard normal setting. It feels right for me. Let's go ahead and give a weight for one of the weights. We're at 7.5 ounces. 7.5 ounces. So roughly 7.6, we're roughly about a full pound with one set. And I'm gonna put 4 sets on mine. This is a matched chassis. The other thing that we have is we have a rear weight for the buttstock. Now this particular weight is a 2-piece clamshell type, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna take these apart, you're gonna clamshell it in the back of the chassis. The chassis right here is where I'm talking about to clamshell it. You're gonna clamshell it right in there, and it's just gonna pinch and bolt together. The nice thing about that is It's very low profile, doesn't stick out, nothing like this. Is 1 pound, 5 ounces, so a little bit heavier. And then the last internal weight is just this itty bitty little guy. This particular weight is for another part of the rear of the chassis. And this weight is gonna go on the bottom, right here on the bottom section of that buttstock. This weight, a total of 5.5 ounces, okay? So you can kind of add those up beforehand and know exactly the weight of the gun that you would like to build. Every application is a little bit different. For PRS type shooting, I like to put 4 weights on. It fits more than that, but this is also part of the balance point. We will go over that a little bit and trying to understand exactly how the rifle should be put together. I'm gonna start with the actual chassis, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my rear weights in, and I'm gonna put my barrel channel weights in as well. Obviously, we have to put that in before we put the barreled action in. So let's just go ahead and rock and roll on that. So here's my barrel weights. What you can see on the barrel weights is you have a little bit of a front arrow there, okay? That front arrow, obviously, front of the gun, and the inside are hollowed out to accept these barrel weights, which I'm gonna call barrel channel weights, and they're hollowed out to accept that, and you're gonna bolt them on the bottom. Really a simple design. I like to put these in here because it does drive the front of that gun down just a little bit. And one of the reasons I really like that is because you're gonna get a very solid shooting rifle and the muzzle's going to stay down. You can see that I'm not really putting a lot of pressure, but you wanna kinda lock them in a little bit. There's really no place for them to move anyway because they're inside this barrel channel. Really all you're doing is sucking them down and making sure there's no movement on your rifle system. This is a T20 Torx bit. Very common in lots of different applications, but now what you can see before I put this last one in is you can see how these are beveled down just a little bit. Now, what's nice about that is that it's not gonna catch on any bag, it's not gonna catch on anything else, but there is some different accessories that you can put inside this channel. Vision has some really cool different ideas. They have some brass weights to add a little bit more weight. Also some grip tape, and that grip tape just provides a little bit of grip on the bag. I don't run anything. I like how there's already a little bit of grip with the holes, and that does provide a little bit of friction on the bag. For me, that's perfect. So I actually leave it like that. So now you can see that the barrel channel weights are all installed. They're all the way from front to back, and roughly that's added about 31 ounces of weight on my chassis. One of the things I really like about Vision is just the clean lines. Everything is so well machined, and it really has a great look to it. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to install our rear weights for the chassis buttstock to kind of even it out. If we are adding too much weight up front, our balance point will be too far forward, so we do want to add it up. It's okay to have a light rifle if it balances really good, and same thing for a heavy rifle if it balances really good. You want the shootability of the rifle to be the first most important thing, and that's why these chassis are so awesome, because we can really tailor the kind of shooting that we want to do. If we want a rifle that has a little more weight out front to control it, we can do that just by putting the weights on certain spots. So I have my 2 weights. Pretty easy to see how these go. They're just going to marry up like so. And there's also a spot on the chassis that you'll notice extends a little bit farther than the other side. So you know that this piece that extends a little bit farther is going to go right here, kind of like so. And now what we're going to do is I just like to hold this piece. And now we can literally just take this piece and set it right on top. And these screws go right down on there, and it just clamshells, kind of bolts together. And again, I'm gonna put about the same amount of pressure on these as the barrel channel weights. You guys can see I'm using a torque wrench with the T-handle. I'm gonna put a pretty good little tug on it, but I'm not really gonna monkey it super hard. I'm just gonna kind of give a nice hand tight. Sometimes you can run something around 25 inch-pounds with your torque wrench, and it really is about perfect. Now we're gonna focus on our bigger weight. Now this is where a lot of weight is at in the rear of the stock. And it's a solid one-piece unit. It is a clamshell as well. But because it's all in that same exact area, which happens to also be kind of directly in line with the center of the chassis, I find that it's a really good place to put weight because it really manages that rear very well. Sometimes if you get weight up too high or too low on the gun, what you'll notice is it's not quite as stable. It might seem a little bit tippy, especially if the weight is too high. I can say, for example, like a scope that sits too high, and then you have a bunch more stuff on top of it, some laser range finders, levels, lights, whatever. You'll notice that the gun's gonna be a little bit tippy, okay? Exact same thing we're gonna do here, okay? We're gonna take our piece, it's gonna slide right in like so. And again, I'm gonna hold this piece as I flip it over. Now these logos, obviously you can go vision up, makes it pretty simple to see. This just slides right in and all the holes line up, and now I'm just gonna tighten everything up. Again, hand tight. Don't really need to monkey it. There's not a lot of torque and pressure on these screws. Okay, now I have my rear weights installed and my barrel channel weights. So that only took a few minutes. One thing that I would recommend is these come with a little bit of oil on there just to kind of help for transport. You could wipe it off, just a little bit of a de-oiler kind of rag or degreaser, something like that. It'll just clean up perfectly for you if you'd like. Next thing I'm going to do before I put my barrel in is I'm going to install the outside weights, which these are going to be like the fore-end weights. These are all M-LOK, super easy to install. I'm going to install 3 of these 4, okay? So 3 sets of the 4 right now. My last set is going to be after I get my gun built and I start to understand exactly where I want my balance point, and I'll show you how to do that too. I want you to look at how these M-LOKs go on. They are really cool. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our bolts that I've already assembled. I put my 2 bolts through the weight, and then you have a little locking M-LOK piece in the back. You're gonna stick that through the chassis right here. And now you're gonna see how they can kind of free float on the side. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten them up just a little bit until they catch on the side. And what you're gonna be able to see is right in here, these are straight up and down. Okay, these little pieces on the back side of the bolt, which is technically the nut, it's going to lock in. That's why it's called M-LOK, because it locks in that M-LOK channel. And so what I do is I can lock them in there. Again, you don't really need to wrench on these, but I'm gonna get them so they're about perfect, and then I'm gonna push it forward so it seats against my other weight, and I'm ready to go. So what you can see now that is I have my 3 sets all the way on the fore end. This is really going to balance my rifle out very, very well. I only put 3 on. Later we're gonna double check weight, balance point, and then we'll put the 4th one on then. But these are substantially easier to make sure that you do perfectly with no barrel in the barrel channel. And then you can see how all of your nuts on the back side of your M-LOK bolts are all vertical, straight up and down with a good purchase and good lock in the system. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put our barreled action in. Now, everyone's put a lot of people put barreled action in, pretty simple. There's a couple things that I particularly like to do is I'm going to run, this is just a 6 Creedmoor barreled action, Curtis Valor benchmark barrel. I am going to run it suppressed. And remember we talked about balance point? I'm going to put the suppressor on before we start to get our balance point. I really want to make sure it's perfect. Okay. Now this is really simple. We're literally going to drop it in. And I want to show you guys something pretty simple here. Okay. So we have our barreled action, and you'll notice that I can kind of seat it forward and back just a little bit. Now, when it engages on the lugs, this is absolutely dead nuts for your bolts. So it's going to be a little bit easier for you to start those bolts if that is actually touching the lug. Literally, this is exactly what I do. I turn it over. I have really good pressure on my barrel, and now I can seat that against the lug, and I put my action screws in. Really simple. Longer one goes in the back. Shorter one goes right in the front. They do supply a 3/16 long action screw bit. This is awesome, you guys. Getting a bit out of there, and it's a long one, so you can keep it in your pack. You can really try to figure out exactly, the length that you need, the different tools that you need. Most all kits come with a standard length 3/16. But all of our chassis are a little bit deeper, so we need to be able to get in there to really house that the best, okay? So now we're going to lock in our bits here. Okay, so that's pretty tight. I will eventually do these to 65 inch-pounds on the bottom. Okay, now we're just hand tight. We're probably 30 or 40, something like that. I will torque it in just a little bit. But what we have is our barreled action. This entire thing is ready to go. I can feel a lot of really good weight to it right now. It feels really good. What we're going to do is now we're going to weigh it. So this entire setup, now I don't have a scope on it, I don't have a mag or my rail on it, but just the rifle system itself is 21 pounds. So we were able to add a lot of weight to the fore-end, to the rear of the gun. My guess is with a really heavy-duty scope and a heavy-duty mount, I can try to add about 3 to 4 more pounds to get this up to the 25, 26 pound range, which is really what I'm going for a match rifle. Just putting a bipod on so that I can organize it here, make it good. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the hood on. So this is the hood that goes in the front, and I like the hood because it's pinned and screwed. You probably don't need the pins unless you're doing something that needs to be ultra reliable and accurate, such as night vision optics up front, such as clip-ons. There's rails for this hood, so you can get Picatinny rails, put them wherever you want, and it's really gonna help you have something that you can run some night vision off of. I'm not gonna run night vision, but I am still gonna put these stainless steel pins in. And so you can see the stainless steel pins, and really what that is you're just gonna put a couple in the back. So each one has 2 holes that you can see here. Holes for a pin, and then some of them are threaded. Holes for the screws. I'm just gonna go halfway, put some pins, and then I'll go up to the front as well and put some pins. Now your night vision hood or front hood goes right on, sits down inside those pins, and you can see that it doesn't really move even with no screws in there. I'm gonna put the screws in. Now I have my hood on the front, and I'm ready to set my balance point. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna throw my Magnus KRR right on the front. just to get the weight out there so I know exactly where my balance point should and should not be, okay? And what I like to do is I like to do something that is basically balancing on something small. Now this is just a block of 4x4 wood. Really simple. You can do it with any sort of box of ammo, a cardboard box, a 2x4, a steel tube. It really doesn't matter. But a couple things that you're gonna look for, and I'm gonna teach you guys how. So we have our bag. Whatever bag you use, great. I'm excited for you, but you gotta know how to use it. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna measure our bag and see how long is our bag from front to back. You can see mine is about 10 inches or so, okay? So what I wanna do is I wanna make sure that my balance point is at least 5 inches in front of my mag well. Imagine this, you're gonna be able to shoot off of a barricade, okay? And this is going to sit right in front of this mag well like so. So ideally what you want is you want the balance of the gun for it just to be sit right here perfectly. I like about a 1/2 an inch forward. So my balance point, my perfect balance point, I would like to be at 5.5 inches. Pretty simple. All we're going to do is we're going to take our tape measure, we're going to measure back from the mag well 5.5 inches. That is where we can make a little mark or whatever, it doesn't matter, to show where our balance point should be. So at 5.5 inches, I know that I happen to be right at this groove right here, or right where this bolt is at on my night vision hood, right here, straight down. That's gonna be my perfect balance point. So when I go, I get my scope mounted up and I get everything on, I'm gonna put something right where I would like that to be, and I'm gonna make sure and see if it balances. Now, if it doesn't, that's okay. That's why these chassis are modular. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this down right on the center of it. And then we're going to kind of see where this balance is at. Now, this is not a great piece of wood, so bear with me. But what you're gonna find out is you're gonna find out that this particular balance point happens to be about perfect for this rifle right now. And I can even go to something a little bit smaller, like a 2x4 or a 1x1, really to get the perfect balance. Sometimes people do it on the back of a chair, something like that, to get the perfect balance point to see where the rifle has a tendency to lean, and then you can add a little bit more weight. Ideally, you want to get that balance point right where I made my 5.5 inch mark. For me, it's going to be right in here, which happens to be a little bit off of my piece of wood. So I'm going to reset it, get it to the middle, and then I'm just going to kind of feel how this rifle, you see how it still balances pretty darn good, but what you'll notice is it's not maybe perfect on your rifle system. And you just want to get in here and see exactly where it's at. This happens to be about perfect. Now, a couple things to notice. I'm still going to add a mount and a scope. That's going to take it back just a little bit, maybe a 1/2 inch or so. And then now I can play with my weights and I can use all my weights for it. Here's one thing that's awesome about the Vision chassis is that you have some extra holes inside your weights. Okay, right here you have some extra holes. Now these weights are stackable, which means we could put as many on this chassis going out as we wanted to. So if you needed extra weight in the very, very, very front to really maximize maybe some of the weight that you have in the back, you can add this to the very front. And you're just gonna be able to thread it right on and stack these weights. Now you could get goofy with it and put a bunch of weight up here, but the way that these rifles balance, it's almost perfect anyway. So what I'm gonna do is I will be putting another set right behind it, which adds a little bit more weight slightly in front, but really in the center location of my rifle system. This mag catch is awesome. It's got a longer mag catch, which I like, because then as the rifle is clicked in, now what you can do is you can grab this with your thumb and you can push it forward while grabbing the mag out. It's all a one-hand operation. You very well might see some people that have to put their thumb on one side and hit the lever right here and then grab the mag with their other hand. One of the reasons I like a little bit longer mag catch here is because it's typically this one hand operation. As you can unlock it with your thumb and then pull it out with your hand. We have our rifle pretty much put together with our chassis system, and they include from Vision a thumb rest. Now, I love these little thumb rests. They're gonna really put your hand in a great spot. So what you wanna do is you wanna kind of find out where the best spot for the thumb rest is for your hand. Everyone's got a little bit different size hand. That's okay. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this thumb rest on. I like about the second hole on the chassis. All these holes right in here are for the thumb rest. And you can actually, there's 2 of them. You could put one on each side depending on your system, depending on how you like to shoot. And what's nice about these is they're gonna go right on, and they have a little slot in this. They have just a little bit of a slot inside the thumb rest. That allows you to kind of move it back and forth a 1/4 inch or so and really get a perfect system for you. So for me, I'm gonna go ahead and lock mine into this, screw mine into the second hole. And after I start to kind of get it tight, I know that for me, I like to see just a little bit of this. Now check out what happens when I put my hand on this stock. If I'm closing the bolt, I come down, I put my hand on my chassis, and you notice that my thumb happens to be at the exact same angle as my thumb rest. I come in here and you see how everything lines up. And now all this is able to be relaxed, and all I have to focus on, all I gotta focus on is just pulling the trigger straight to the rear. Everything else is set up in a perfect position. Now what I want you guys to look at is the relation to my finger being a 90-degree angle right here. With a modular chassis, you should be able to get your hand and your finger in a perfect trigger position. For us, it's straight back to the rear, 90-degree finger, and you want to pull it straight back to the rear. That's why having a grip like this and having a thumb rest allows you to get your hand far enough forward to be able to have a nice 90-degree. The Vision Pro chassis has a awesome buttstock. I really, really like this buttstock. It seems like everything's kind of on rails, which I love. Straight back, straight forward, straight up, straight down, but it has a lot of modularity. So what I like is these thumb wings, and it's going to allow you to loosen it and pull it straight back. And the reason I like that is because there's a lot of movement in here and it's really fast. There's no extra bolts to take care of, there's nothing. And then you lock it in and it absolutely does not move with just a little bit of pressure. It's a really solid setup. One more thing on the Vision Pro chassis for the buttstock is your cheek piece. Now, this is going to be on the other side of the rifle system, but this particular cheek piece is right here. And the exact same thing holds true. It's a thumb screw, and now this goes up and down, okay? You usually only need a little bit of movement to make it perfect, but you have that. And then lastly, we have our bag rider down here. Now, I love these bag riders because it really helps you have a lot more surface area on the bottom. And the flat bag riders like the Vision Pro, they seem to ride really good. If you have something that has a little bit of an angle one way or the other, what you might notice is on recoil, let's just say you're going back like this, on recoil, it's gonna kind of go down that hill. which takes the back of your chassis or stock down, puts your scope way up in the air. So if we can ride a flat system, we'll notice that everything goes really flat and you'll have a little bit better time with follow through. But this particular thumb wheel, exactly the same. It drops our bag rider really, really fast. I typically keep mine at the very top is where I really like it. It's super solid, it meets all the other parts here, and it really just does not move, and I love that a lot. One more thing on the buttstock that we'll talk about is we have our adjustment on our buttstock going back and forth, but we also have a pinch right here. Now these can pinch. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and lock this in. So these can pinch, and if you pinch both of them, what you're going to notice is that this can go up or down. Some people like to run their buttstock a little bit higher on their shoulder or collarbone because it's a little more comfortable for them in managing recoil. Lots of different options here. This does go up or down. And one of the reasons I really enjoy this buttstock is it's simple and strong. It's all one piece. And now you're just able to take your thumb screws and you're able to tighten these up. And you notice that there's no movement. There's no extra pieces that rattle around and move around. Everything is really stout. I've taken my buttstock of the Vision chassis off, and it's got a little rail and a little groove in it, which really tightens it up. You can see how this just slides off now that I don't have the thumb wheel in there. But what I'm gonna do is, Vision has some buttstock internal weights. Now this is a really great design that I love, and let's go ahead and put this together. This does add a little bit of weight. It's roughly about 1/2 pound. It's all in the very rear of the gun. So if you find yourself needing something with more weight in the rear of the gun because you're offsetting it, let's just say with something like a suppressor out front, what you're gonna notice is it provides just a little bit of weight out there and you're able to do it. So here's what we're gonna do. We have our buttstock here, and these round dowels, or whatever we're gonna call them, little round weights, they have a flat on them. That flat is gonna go where the bolt goes to lock those in. So we're gonna go flat directly right there, boom, snaps in. We have another little dowel, the flat also, right where the screw goes, snaps right in. And we're gonna go ahead and get all of these so they're perfect. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure that these screws are just hand tight. It's really gonna lock these in. Now, one thing I like about the Vision Pro chassis is besides these top rail pieces here, you use the same Torx. I love it. I really enjoy just having one tool for the entire chassis. Really makes it nice. All your extra parts and weights and M-lock stuff, it's all the same Torx bit, which is a T20. Let me verify that before I say that. It is a T20. Now, I'm gonna put about medium pressure as I've done with everything on the entire build. I'm not really gonna monkey anything. I certainly don't wanna do anything to strip anything out. I just wanna have a little bit of tension on that. Since they are steel hardened bolts, you just find that these are really strong. So this adds a little bit of weight, and I can feel it now that I'm holding it. It's gonna add about 1/2 pound. These right inside here, you can see how these lock in with those bolts. It's 2 dowels, 2 steel weights per bolt. It locks in, there's flats on those weights, and it just locks those in really good. Again, all I'm gonna do is put my buttstock back on. You can see how quick and easy this is. There's little grooves in this. And so on the actual chassis, you can see that there's a groove that runs up these bars. Now this is a one piece, it's all milled out, so it's very strong, but this is a groove. All of the pieces in the buttstock have this groove, which I really like. Means there's not a lot of slop movement. It slides into the groove and makes it a really strong system. So now we have our groove, we slide it into the groove, and it's gonna be able to go back and forth and slide however we want. Again, this nut that we have, which is the little wing nut, we put that inside our screw hole, and we're gonna lock it in. Really, it's that simple. Now, nothing moves, super solid, and your buttstock is complete. Now that our Vision chassis is pretty much complete, besides our scope and our system, but our full chassis is complete, we're ready to go. We can mount our scope up, we can go hit the range and have a good time. Thank you so much for watching Vision chassis. We're really excited for you to try them out.